Good evening, everyone. Yeah, welcome on in, everybody. We're going to give it a minute or two just to let people arrive. You know, it's a Wednesday, people have lives, so I'm just going to wait until around 7:03 to get started. But for now, those of you who are here, I just wanted to say welcome. And to give you a heads up, this event, the first part of it is going to be recorded. So if you don't feel comfortable having your image recorded for that, feel free to keep your camera off. And then later in the event, we're going to break out into breakout rooms. So that will not be recorded. So feel free to turn on your cameras, be as active as you want during that part if you are comfortable. But I just wanted to give you that warning. Awesome. All right. We're going to give it another 2 minutes. But for now, everybody, I would love to open the chat. And I would love for you all to let us know, what is your college major? What college major are you interested in? And what future career aspirations do you have? If you feel comfortable, just let us know, because sometimes that can help us direct our answers during the event. Awesome. I'm seeing some cool answers. I'm seeing engineering, biotechnology. Some people want to be surgeons. Cyber forensics, that's cool. That's awesome. Computer engineering. Well, that's good. I'm glad we've got a variety of here, and it sounds like our speakers can speak to a lot of these things. So I'm really happy to hear that. Awesome. Computer science, video game development, design, a nurse, physician's assistant, undecided but interested in architecture, physics, and engineering. That's lovely. Amazing. Well, feel free to keep sending those in. We love to read them. We love to hear about it. We love to have everyone share. And you never know, sometimes you can share something and it can lead to immense opportunities. So definitely do it whenever you can. But for now, we're going to go ahead and start our event tonight. I wanted to introduce myself really quick. My name is Madeline. I also go by Maddie. I have no preference. So whatever you remember, or whatever you find best, feel free to call me that. And I am the NSHSS Community Development Coordinator. So you'll see me hosting a lot of events here every once in a while in the evenings. And to introduce myself, I actually went to college for psychology and communication. And while I was in college, I was a psychology research assistant. So I did a lot of statistical research. So I can speak to that end if at any point anyone has interested in the clinical psych or intergroup research or just psychology research in general. I can speak to that a little bit, but I know there's more interest in STEM towards engineering and medicine. So that is also cool. But I will be popping through the breakout rooms. So if anyone wants to ask me a question about that side of things or how to pair different majors, I'm also happy to talk about that. But for now, I would like to introduce our panel for the event tonight. And I'm just going to call on each of you. That way it'll help things move along. So I'm going to start things off with Helena.
Hi, everyone. Excited to be here with you. My name is Helena. I'm currently located here in Northern California. I recently made the transition over from studying biochemistry. I'm on the pre-med, pre-dental track from UC Berkeley to now Harvard University. So I've been taking my classes online so far because of the pandemic. And I can provide a lot of expertise in everything that's pre-dental related, and now I'm transitioning over to pre-med. I've worked some time now as a dental assistant, so I can give some kind of tips on how you can get experience working in the medical field or in the dental field. And I'm very excited to be here with you. I currently in the process between 2 internships right now, one with NASA and now with the CIA. And so I'm very excited for both opportunities. And so that's what I wanted to share about myself. I'm excited to be here with you all.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Helena. All right, and I'm gonna pass things over to Lexi next.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Lexi, and I was born and raised in New York City, but I'm currently tuning in from upstate New York. I'm in Ithaca, attending Cornell, where I'm a junior. And I'm majoring in industrial and labor relations, so I have a more social science-based major, but I am pre-med and I'm minoring in health equity, and so I'm sort of combining my humanities interests with my STEM and pre-med interests on the path to hopefully going to medical school. And on campus, I am part of a pre-medical fraternity, and I also have a research position, so I'm happy to talk about any involvements and gaining some experience in the STEM field via extracurriculars. And yeah, really looking forward to talking to everyone. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And so I'm going to move over next to Eljin.
Thank you. Greetings and humble salutations to everyone. My name is Eljin. I'm a third-year industrial engineering student at the Florida A&M University, located in Tallahassee, Florida. As you can see from my jacket, you can't really see all the symbols. I noticed there was a lot of engineers here, and I wanted to say welcome as a fellow engineer, and I'm glad that you're interested in the studies. I can provide tips on engineering, STEM fields, internships. I'm currently with an internship with Lockheed Martin, and then segueing that into a following internship with Kieft Construction Industries. So any tips about resume? I've also played collegiate ball. So if there's athletes or aspiring athletes or student athletes that want to come and talk to me, then I have plenty of information and I'm ready to give it out.
That's awesome. Thanks, Eljin. And I'm always impressed by just how many things our panelists are part of. So, you know, props to you all. Next, I'm going to move things over to Jan.
Thank you so much. I am, my name is Jan. I am a US trained MD, currently a clinical research fellow in New York. I have a background about spanning 17 years in research. I actually began in high school and have continued on ever since, spanning a wide spectrum, including oncology, immunotherapy, gene therapy, cellular therapeutics, and COVID-19. Happy to speak to all of you about anything from applying to college, applying to med school, things after med school, careers in industry, careers in medicine, careers in research, and anything along that spectrum. Happy to provide my insight and experience. And once again, thank you so much for hosting this panel and for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here, Jan. This will be great. All right, I'm going to throw things over to our last panelist. Last but not least is going to be Carlos.
Hey everyone, Carlos Bortoni, based out of Washington, D.C., though I'm originally born and raised in Mexico, where I finished high school. When I moved to the States, I went to Harvard. I studied Latin American affairs, government, international policy, did all my internships with the UN, down in Chile, with think tanks in Argentina and here in DC. And then I transitioned into private sector consulting after graduation. So I can talk about what that's like. I worked in aerospace, defense, chemicals, metals and mining, nuclear power. I probably worked in that industry for a little while. I then transitioned into education consulting. I built and led a practice out of a market research firm here in Washington, DC, which then led me to do a lot of my Model UN stuff from undergrad and doing real life abroad. Then grad school, so I'm both an MBA and master's in education. And after that, I did more consulting work at PwC. I was part of their consumer markets and digital transformation practice, so a lot more data analytics, more like the quant side of things. And then most recently, I joined Qualtrics, where I lead the industry/strategy for all of our K-12 practice around North America and pretty much around the world. So really happy to talk about what it's like to have a liberal arts, non-liberal arts background, internships, working here in the States, working abroad. Happy to share all those insights, and very excited to meet you all this evening. Thank you so much for having me, Maddie.
Yeah, of course. And thank you for being here. And I just wanted to thank all of our panelists really quickly for being here. It is a Wednesday night, it's a work week, and I really do appreciate you taking your time. And to also all of our attendees, thank you for taking the time to be here, because we're happy to help. We're happy to be a resource. But to start things off, I wanted to put an open-ended question out into the room for our panelists. So whoever feels comfortable kind of getting that ball rolling, feel free to unmute and answer. My first question would be, how do you decide the perfect college major or the perfect field of interest for yourself? Or in a different way, how did you decide that? So that sort of advice.
I guess I'll get the ball rolling from that perspective. Honestly, there's no better teacher than experience. And the one thing that I'll say is to immerse yourself in the opportunities that you're given. And if you're not given opportunities, don't be scared to make them. If a door isn't there, create one. If a door is closed, knock on it, but eventually you have a choice. Either you can leave the door closed or you can break the door down. It's really up to you. But the one thing that I will say is persistence is key. For me individually, I was drawn to medicine based on my personal childhood and family circumstances that kind of shifted me in that arena from a very young age. And then in high school, I was in a special track called the Medical Sciences Institute that kind of parlayed us with some exposure to research and to medicine. And really that kind of laid the foundation, for where I would then take the next steps of my career. And the one thing I want to leave you with is, although you may look at us and you may think, oh, wow, their journeys are smooth or their journeys are straight, it's actually just the contrary. Our journeys are circuitous, and a lot of the best things that we've accomplished, a lot of our success stories have come from those detours that we've had that really have built and made us who we are today. So that's kind of what I just wanted to open up. Hopefully that was helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, the one thing I'll add, Lexi, I'll be insanely quick, I promise. The only other thing I would add to this is it's just important to know what you like as it is to know what you don't like. And there isn't a better time to start pressure testing that than undergrad, because no one will hold it against you. Like, America is the only country where you can study marine biology or underwater basket weaving and end up in banking. Like, I don't get it, but this is the only country where you can do that. So the opportunity to have an internship that aligns with what you really, really want to do will let you figure out really quickly if that's what you really want to do. Growing up, I wanted to be like an international peace conflict negotiator, work for the UN and all that jazz. And after working with the UN and with think tanks, I was like, no, this is too slow, nothing gets done. Sounds great on paper, but it's not really my jam. And now that I find myself in literally my dream job, doing the coolest thing ever, but it is a winding path. Like, knowing step A will take me to B, to C, to D, it's hard. Don't beat yourself up on it. But if you have something that you want to pressure test, talk to folks who follow that career path, get into internships, take classes in that field to just figure out if you like it or not. And if you don't, then great, you have a lot of time to figure it out.
Yeah, my story as to where I got really connects well with what Jan and Carlos both said. Similarly to Jan, my childhood experiences growing up in New York City really shaped me, and I sort of came back to them once I decided that I wanted to pursue the pre-med track, but initially it was not what I was intending on following. So my experiences growing up and witnessing different communities and their healthcare structures really made me passionate about healthcare disparities and different social factors that can influence one's health. And so I thought for me that the way to pursue that would be through law. So my major, industrial and labor relations at Cornell, is a very pre-law heavy major. It's a lot of people who are intending to go to law school, and those were my intentions too upon choosing the major. But as I took more classes, I really didn't see myself continuing this for the rest of my life as much as I was really interested in it. So I'm really enjoying my classes, and for that reason, I've chosen to stick with my major. And as Carlos touched on, you really can major in anything. There's no set STEM major. There's no major that you have to pursue. You're able to get anywhere pursuing the major that truly interests and motivates you. But I would say don't be scared of having those opportunities that make you realize this isn't what I want to do, because that's kind of what got me where I am today. I went and I pursued pre-law opportunities and internships, and I don't see it as a waste of time because it helps me to realize that this isn't what I want to do, and it helped me to become steered towards this path where I'm now doing something that I'm really passionate about, and it helps me to find what I want to do.
I just wanted to follow up with what Lexi said, because she made a really good point. There's just no right, or there's no really way to tell what major you want to do unless you're actually in the field or taking the classes for it. I know when I entered college, I knew I for sure wanted to do something in dentistry or medicine, a major that would fit into both. And I actually reached out to, my major, some colleges have major counselors or college counselors you can reach out to. And they usually have a list of common majors that someone in your, career interest or, field interest typically do. For instance, physician's assistants, typically they have majors in kinesiology. And for something I wanted to do, biochemistry, it kind of just fulfilled all the prerequisites I needed to take to qualify for either dental school or med school. So I ended up deciding to just chemistry that way, but you don't necessarily always have to have a STEM major if you want to go down, a health profession in that network and such. You can have your major being English, and you can always minor in something. I guess one of my big things to put is if you had something that really interested you and you're really passionate about, you can still find a way to kind of make it work in college by, taking it up as a major, as a minor, while still pursuing your career path. That's what's so great about, especially colleges here. You're able to explore so many different career paths.
I wholeheartedly agree with Helena and everyone's input on choosing really what chooses you and really what's your real passion. For me personally, growing up, I always knew I was wanting to be in the STEM field. Engineering more so came around when I was 12, when I started going to this program called NSB Junior, which is National Society of Black Engineers. It's a junior chapter for those from K through 12. And it was a program that really incited me to head towards a path that I really wanted. And I'd say that to you all, and that's especially in the engineering path. If you want to go into it, then that is perfectly fine. And if you want skills that's outside of the major, you can always do a skill outside of the major. Experiences constitute as well. I know with internships, I've had 6 thus far, and now they're getting into the more technical side, but they were all very in different experiences, which from inserting contracts and reviewing contract data to even electrical utilities and seeing how the utilities and electricity was made to solar energy. There's an endless possibility that's what you can do. And I recommend to go with where your heart takes you. I know money is always the constitute where they say, oh, do the major that makes the most money. Well, money can't really give you the happiness while you're going through that process. So I really encourage you all to choose a major that's really speaks to your heart and where you can find a real passion in, because that's where the most success comes from, in my opinion.
I love that, Eljin, that point about passion and following your heart. I'll put in a quick anecdote about myself. When I was in high school, I was in an early track to become an engineer. I took engineering courses through the Rochester Institute of Technology. I was going to engineering camps in the summer. I had my heart set on those programs, but I was miserable, absolutely miserable in that work. And I was in those programs to make my family happy because they really wanted me to be an engineer. And I was good at the programs, but I genuinely wasn't feeling that passion. And it wasn't until I realized that and I tried new things that I discovered that my passion was more along the lines of psychology and statistical research in the realm of helping others. I ended up getting involved very much like Carlos in community work. I didn't work with the UN, but I did a lot of governmental reform projects. So, you know, you never know where you're going to end up. And I can say that the courses that I took in those engineering programs helped me in the long run because I did have sort of an access to knowledge that I'd learned from back then that helped me in that world of research. So, you know, I completely agree with everything everyone has said. And I think some amazing points were brought up. But to move things along, my next question for everyone would be, we know your field that you're in currently. What is the best piece of advice that you would give to a student interested in joining your specific field?
I guess I'll begin. Advice is simple. Find a mentor. It sounds really easy, but it's really important. You need someone who will open doors for you, educate you, and kind of take you underneath their wing. But the one thing that is important is you can have more than one person take on that role. And most of us have more than one. So as long as you find someone who's invested in you and wants you to succeed, that's the most important thing. The hard part is finding that person. So that's my piece of advice.
My piece of advice that I would have for an engineering major will probably have to be consistency. Staying consistent with your work and staying consistent with what you want to do and how you want to do it and what your end goal and your end path is. That feels like that has fueled me throughout my college experience and has helped me stay on track to what I really want to do. And that's not just saying just stay consistent in your major, just stay consistent with your schooling, and that all includes time management, which is a really big factor, and taking care of your mental health. Engineering is one of the top 3 hardest majors entering into college, and as a college student and undergrad myself, it is very stressful times, and I've had moments in my life where I just felt like I was just totally overwhelmed. And so when you take account of taking care of your mental health and your time management and being consistent with it throughout, it will make the process a lot easier and a lot less stressful as you navigate through your college experience.
Yeah, I would agree with those 2 things. The only things I would add is keep an open mind, be open to feedback, whether it's from a friend, a teacher, a mentor, family, friends. It's always good to keep an open mind and be receptive to different ways of doing things, different ways of thinking. Again, whether you're coming from a quant background moving into social science or vice versa, like whatever permutation you're thinking about, there's always a different way of doing whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. And I always like to say there's many different paths to the same goal. And you gotta make your own, and at the same time trying to find a rhythm, a process that works for you. And if it's planning everything well in advance, good for you. If it's procrastinating and sprinting until the very last second and it gets done and you crush it, good for you, right? Like at the end of the day, you gotta find the right moments and the right process for you. But in terms of making the most out of your college experience and I would argue your first job right after school, it's really about, you know, to Jan's point, having a mentor, to Eljin's point, trying to enjoy it and being gritty, being consistent, but also keep an open mind, because if you're also too focused, if you can lose sight of the forest for the trees, and it's always important to see what else is out there.
Yeah, building on those points, I would say my best piece of advice would be to not let a bump in the road sort of steer you off track or make you question what you want to do and your interests or your passions. As Carlos was saying and Eljin was talking about, the STEM fields can be really tricky. And I think whether people want to admit it or not, everyone has had a time where they've had a bump in the road and something hasn't gone the way they've planned for it to. And I've been there, and there have been times that I've questioned, like, is this really for me? Can I really do this? And everyone has been there. And I would say, don't let that steer you from doing what you really want to do, because as Carlos was saying, there's always another way to do something, whether it's taking a summer class or there's post-bac programs like for medical school. There's always a way to get to what you want to do. And sometimes it's just about exploring the options and also evaluating yourself and what led you to that bump in the road and how you can recover from it. So I would like, what I hate to see is when people are deterred just because of one small upset. I think it happens to everyone, and it's really important to not let that get you down, but to just keep going and learn from it.
Yeah, I think a common everyone's been saying on the panelists is like the STEM field, it's known to be one of the most difficult career fields that you could, you know, enter into, but it can be done. You know, and we're all proof that we're still going, we're still, you know, pursuing it. One of my biggest things I would suggest is developing a sense of independence. I know most people who are pushed into the STEM field, you know, you can hear our parents wanted us to, or our families really want us to, and, you know, we want to make everyone around us of us. But that's why I encourage developing that sense of independence, because once you're in college, no one's really going to hold your hand for you. Not so much like how it was in high school or even elementary school. And the only way you're really going to get through it is realizing, okay, do I actually have a passion for this field I'm about to enter? Because it's going to take a lot of hard work. But like what I've been saying, it can be done. And that's why having that sense of independence and having that passion in the field is what's going to get you through it.
I love that. And I love all of the points that all of our panelists have brought up. I think all of the advice that you have given are things that I wish that I could have heard when I was in high school or even in college, because again and again and again, I find that regardless of your field, these are the types of things that a lot of people say as advice they wish that they had heard. So thank you again to all of our panelists. And at this point, I want to make sure that I'm leaving enough time for our attendees to talk one-on-one with our panelists. So I'm going to break us up into breakout rooms. All right, and so that might take me a couple of minutes to set everybody into their rooms. So there might be a second of silence. So while we're waiting, if anybody would like to put some questions into the chat, put them on out there. And if any of our panelists see a question that speaks to them, go ahead and answer it. And I'm going to start putting people into the rooms.
While we're waiting, I would say something else that definitely comes to mind as some advice is to utilize the resources that are there to help you. I think, you know, NSHSS is just one of those. There's so many opportunities out there for you and so many different resources and things that can help you. And so I would say to really take advantage of those.
I think we have some questions in the chat, so I'll try to answer it very quickly to Erica. Or and some advice on internships, I would just suggest looking into what checking in with a counselor. I'm going to join my breakout room, but I'll try to answer it at the end.
All right, I believe everyone should be assigned. So feel free to go ahead and join your breakout rooms. And if you have any issues, just stick around and I'll help you.